The Apostle Paul is telling the disciples, the church, he said, for I say to you, through the grace that is given to me, everyone who is among you. So he said, I'm talking to everybody at the sound of my voice. I'm talking to every one of you. He said, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Woo. He said, I don't care who you are, care about your status quo, the car you drive, the house you live in. He said, don't think of yourself more than you ought to think. He said, but to think soberly, as God has dealt each one of you a measure of faith. A measure. Thank you, brothers. As you can see these measuring cups up here, I want to try to break this down, what Paul was saying. He said, each one of you has been dealt a measure of faith. God has given each one of us a measure of faith for your marriage. He's given you a measure of faith to be the godly parent that he's called you to be. I'm going to pour some more in that one because I think we really need to get this one down. A measure of faith to be the godly parent that he's called you to be. See, we can't parent like everybody else. We got to parent like God has called us to parent. We can't parent based on TikTok. We can't parent based on what they say, on what this person said, what this person said. God has given you a measure of faith to parent the way he's called you to parent. He's given you a measure of faith, kids, to have influence at your school. He's given you a measure of faith for your ministry. He's dealt each and every one of us a measure of faith. But see, what our problem is, we are worried about the measure in everybody else's cup. And God is saying, I need you to worry about what's in your cup. He said he dealt each and every one of us a measure of faith. My faith is not my wife's faith. Her faith is not my faith. He dealt each and every one of us a measure of faith to do whatever it is that he's called you to do, to be who he's called you to be. And if you look up that word faith, in that Greek translation, it means to rely on Christ for everything. It means to rely on Christ for everything. To rely on him for your salvation, to rely on him for your deliverance, to rely on him for your restoration, to rely on him to be the man of God, the woman of God that he's called you to be, to rely on him in everything, anything you can think of. That word translated, he has dealt you a measure of faith to rely on him for everything. However, this is where we mess up. We rely on ourselves for most things. And he said, I've given you the measure of faith to rely on me, on Jesus, for everything.